Welcome to the Pause Perspective,
the podcast where we help dog owners feel calmer, clearer and more confident by understanding what's really going on behind their dog's behaviour.
We're Pat and Molly from Flying Paws Dog Training, and each episode we break down behaviour, training and real life challenges in a way that actually makes sense.
From puppies and adolescents, breed traits and everyday training struggles, we focus on working with your dog's instincts, not against them.
Whether you're trying to prevent problems before they start or you're feeling stuck and not sure what to do next,
you're in the right place.
So grab a coffee, clip on the lead,
and let's get into today's episode.
Morning, Molly. Nice sunny morning.
It is.
What are we chatting about today?
We are talking about why some dogs are just harder than others.
And why might that be?
Well, I mean, I think we've both had dogs, we've probably both talked about it on here before, that have, for one reason or another, felt harder than dogs we've had previously, or other dogs we've known, or for a variety of reasons they have just felt harder.
Yep.
And there's different reasons why that has felt like that for us. But I think a lot of people that are struggling with their dog just feels hard. Things just feel hard.
Yep.
But like I said, there's a few reasons why that might be.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to talk about the dog you've
got now?
Well, just the dog you've found the hardest? Is that the one you've got now?
Yeah, probably. I think Zan and Riley were both hard for different reasons, but in some ways, I guess I might say I had more time with Riley, and she was the only dog when she was young, so I spent a lot of time with her.
Yep.
But I probably had to because she was quite independent and quite hard. Zan's probably, he might have. I guess he'd probably be a bit harder than Riley. Just I guess different time in my life.
Yeah.
Doing different things. Also, when I got him, I had two other dogs.
Yeah.
I had Riley and Tanner. So yeah, I think sometimes they can be hard because it's a different time in your life. You've got you're doing different things. They were both quite high drive dogs.
Yep.
Zan's a very high drive dog. Super smart and want to do things, but sometimes that can be a bit difficult.
Yep.
And both fairly movement stimulated, but Zan would definitely be a lot more movement stimulated than Riley. And, that can be quite challenging. I'm sure a lot of people have got dogs that, like to have a bit of a bark or lunge at something that's moving past. So I've been there and done that. So, that they can be quite challenging for those sorts of reasons. What about you?
Look, it'd probably be Murph.
Mm-hmm.
And I think some of that was my own expectations.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I also probably, in reflection, didn't really appreciate what a 40, 50 kilo dog was actually going to be like, just to have to physically handle at times.
Yeah, and I think that's probably something interesting for people that have got bigger dogs.
Yeah.
Or even smaller dogs. A small dog, people will say, gee, they can pull pretty hard. So once you're getting, Murph was around 50 kilos or something at one stage, wasn't he? So, and you're only small, so it's a lot.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it comes back to, I guess, my age I was just naive. I just didn't have the life experience to, even though I grew up with Goldies, I didn't actually, I was only little when we had them. So
Yep.
I didn't walk them. I didn't do anything like that. And they were old by the time, the main one was old by the time, I sort of came along. So it's, I think for me, it was picturing what I thought I should have and should have wanted.
Yeah.
And that's what made it hard.
Yeah, look, I think everyone has those sorts of things when you get a pup. You want to have fun with it. You want to take it places, go adventuring if you're going to do that. But sometimes, when we go to do it for various reasons, it isn't quite as easy as we might have expected it to be.
Yeah.
So Zan's sort of taken a while with the cafes and things like that. He's not too bad now. But he wasn't the easiest. He wasn't the easiest to walk when he was younger. So I think a lot of people can relate to that sort of thing.
Yeah. So what are some of the reasons why a dog may just feel harder than another dog?
Well, I think one is what you mentioned is size.
Yeah.
That can definitely play a part, because if you get a big dog and you think, "Oh, yeah, I'll just go for a walk, I'll go to cafes," and then it might be, a little bit reactive for some reason. That might be something that you didn't think of. Can be their life experiences, also the dogs, depending on if they're older or if they're younger, what's happened to them previously, uh, could impact why they might be hard.
And this isn't like, I suppose when you say that, a lot of people think of rescue dogs, but
Yeah,
we're also talking about what happens in the first 8 weeks before you
yeah.
get your pup.
Definitely. And also, just after you get your pup, sometimes, we've had people that things have happened to them unexpectedly, which has impacted how the dog feels about certain situations.
Yeah.
So, it can be no fault of your own. Sometimes just something happens.
Mhm.
Also genetics,
Yeah, genetics is a big one, and I think it's getting understood more and more.
which is good.
But genetics isn't just breed,
No.
which we should point right out at the start. It is part of it,
Mhm.
obviously, but what their mother was like, what their father was like, what their grandparents might
Mm.
have been like, and it's a lot more complicated than just got a
Mm.
good boy dog and got a good girl dog, or an alright girl dog, an alright boy dog, and we'll just have some pups. It's
Mm.
it's a lot more complicated than that as to what
Yeah.
actually might come out in that
Yeah.
litter.
And sometimes, yeah, like you said, it could be their parents and it's skipped that generation and it's, one of the pupses, might be nervous or,
Mm,
whatever. So,
yeah.
yeah, that's something that you don't really know either.
No.
So that's something to think about.
But it is also obviously touching back on the rescue. If they've come through a rescue
Mm.
for whatever reason, why did they end up there? A lot of the time we don't know, and the rescue doesn't
Mhm.
doesn't know enough to be able to, they can only tell you what they've been told.
Mm.
But it's also what the shelter environment might have been like. A lot of
Yeah.
them, and this is, shelters are obviously doing an amazing job and the absolute best they can, but I don't think anyone would disagree that it's a great environment for a lot of dogs.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
some really struggle.
and a lot come out not sure of barking because there can be a lot of
Mm.
barking or handling because, if they're a stray or they've been dumped and they've had to be captured, like, well, captured sounds awful, but,
Yeah.
to get into the shelter
Restraint or
environment,
whatever.
or,
Mm.
the shelters will get them desexed, a lot of them, which this isn't a desexing discussion, but they have to be veterinary handled, so
Yeah.
how they then feel about veterinary
Mm.
experiences might alter how they feel about people just appearing because, they can see nothing except straight out of that little
Yep.
the little,
Yard.
yard at
Pen.
the front,
Mm.
so things might seem to appear, so
Mm.
again, this is all subjective for rescue dogs, but, whether, and for all dogs, we get very stuck, but especially rescue dogs, in they must have had a bad experience. They're
Yeah.
barking at men because a man's been not nice to them,
Mm.
or they're scared of umbrellas, so they must have had a bad experience with an umbrella. They just might have never seen
Yep,
a
exactly.
man, a child, an umbrella, a scooter,
Mm.
whatever. So they've missed that in that critical period of socialisation. That's a huge thing too,
It is, yep, that's a big thing, so
because they just don't know that that exists in the world.
mm,
Which bit do you want to talk about next? Personalities?
yeah, go for it.
You go.
What sort of personalities do dogs have? And that can change things as well.
What?
Go, say something.
So another thing that can impact them, how easy or hard, quote unquote, they can be, is their individual personalities.
Yep.
Um, you know, I suppose Fox and Zan are probably the obvious comparison, aren't they? They're very
both
This
border collies.
but very different.
Yep, yep, very different personalities. Obviously, different breeders. But yeah, in the same breed, you can have very different personalities. One can be quite calm and relaxed. The other can be hypervigilant. And that doesn't just happen in, say, like two border collies. It can also be siblings.
Mhm.
So that's something that people don't think of either.
Yeah.
So that's always something to consider. You've got to think about what their individual personalities are like.
But also, and this is where it is good if you can to, suss a breeder out a bit before you necessarily get a pup and work out, do they know what they're looking at in their pups?
Mm.
Because some will look really calm in a litter
Mhm.
and you get them home and they're not.
Exactly. And sometimes it can be the other way
Yeah.
around as
Another important factor is drive, and my dog's about to eat your treats. Drive, what we define drive as is whether a dog is high or low drive.
Yep.
Um, so that
It's hard to explain that, isn't it?
it sort of is hard to explain, but I suppose it's like their innate motivation, isn't it, to do things like playing, chasing, working, guarding.
The intenseness of it.
Yeah, it can also help if a dog's high or low drive, it can help you determine their energy needs,
Yep.
how they learn,
Mhm.
and whether they're actually a good fit for your lifestyle. I think a lot of people like the idea of high drive dogs, and we have talked about this on a bonus podcast with Kelly Gill a while ago, but a lot of people that want high drive dogs don't actually like living with high drive dogs.
Yeah, 'cause, they can be a little bit different, can't they?
They can be,
A little bit full on.
and Zan and Fox
Hence,
probably are our go-to examples
very
for
much.
this.
Mhm.
So what are sort of things that make Zan a bit more high drive, I suppose, are that he's highly trainable
Oh, he's highly trained, and he loves it.
and he's incredibly
He
focused.
loves training. And yeah, he is very focused with it, very intense, but which makes it makes it easy to do things, but it also makes it hard because if you don't get it right, if I don't get something right, he's throwing lots of other things at me.
Yeah.
So you've got to be
Or I suppose Riley was probably in the higher drive category if you're gonna
Yep.
categorize her, and she used to just yell at you.
Yeah, and girls often do.
Yeah.
Well, border collie girls.
Mhm.
If you don't get it right, they will let you know that you haven't got it
But there's
right.
a variety of necessarily of yelling too, isn't
Yeah,
there?
there is.
Which can be more your lower drive dogs are just gonna roof at you, where she would be, like, screaming at you,
Yeah.
wouldn't she?
And Zan just he can. I guess he can get. It can build to frustration with him
Very quickly.
if you're not getting things right, or he thinks he can't work out quickly enough what you want.
Yep.
He throws lots of other things at you, and he does everything extremely fast.
Yeah.
Where Fox is a little bit different.
Yeah, I think just before we get on to Fox, I think the other thing that people probably, need to be aware with higher drive dogs is they can become hyperactive or destructive if they're not regularly stimulated.
Yeah, which is I'm very lucky with Zan in that respect because he pretty much just chills. He's fairly lazy.
Yeah, but on one hand, you would say you taught him an off switch,
Mhm.
but I would also argue that he might be chill, but he's also very quick to get up when something
Oh,
happens.
yeah.
So I think there's teaching an off switch, and then there's also teaching regulation
Mhm.
are two very important things.
Mm.
But yeah, so Foxy's what what you would class as a lower drive dog.
Mhm.
They are probably easier in a lot of aspects.
And probably, you know, when people want a specific breed of dog, and I guess border collies are often it. Foxy's probably really what most people want.
Yeah, in a way, they're sort of, has been easier at this age to take for a walk than
Yeah.
Zan's done. He's less quote unquote reactive
Mhm.
than Zan was at the same sort of age, and he's very, like you mentioned before about him being able to be in classes, he's happy to just wait there until
Yeah,
someone's ready for something to
which was
happen.
he's probably, a little bit more like, my Tanner.
Yeah.
He was just he'd sit there and watch everyone else and wait for his turn where, Riley and Zen are probably screaming, encouragement from the sidelines.
Yeah, but I think the harder thing with a lower drive dog is they may lack motivation in faster paced training.
Mhm.
Um, I am doing my course that I've started,
Yep.
last month, and it has been really eye-opening because I thought he was gonna be really hard to, and to a degree, he still is quite hard to do some of the things with because it's shaping where he's gotta actually,
Think or
well, offer things.
yeah,
I think the
or
thing you
things.
can get caught with shaping, just a little side note, is that the dog's gotta think things through, but I think what I have come to realize is, and probably because I haven't done a lot of shaping, up until this point, obviously I still haven't done a lot, but it's setting the dog up to be able to offer the behaviours the best way for that individual
Dog.
dog,
Mhm.
or whatever you're working with. So he's very quick to go, "I don't understand this, I'm just gonna go and,
Yep.
like, I'll tap out now and I'll go just play by myself." Um, so he does need, I do need to think about the type of rewards I use for him in certain environments
Mhm.
because, you know, in the shed in a puppy class, say he can work for some freeze dried or some air dried,
Yep.
treats. But up the paddock where the dogs are moving a lot more, and he's like, that would be much more fun to go and play with that dog. I will up the treat value, or if we're on a walk, I will up the treat value because he doesn't necessarily have the same motivation for, oh, you want me to keep checking in as like Zan would,
Yeah.
in a more motivated dog.
And you see Zen, in some of the private lessons, when you're walking around with him, he's just, like, looking at you the whole time, like, "What are we doing next?
Yeah,
Where's the treat? What's
yeah.
happening?"
Which to get that same thing in Fox, I've gotta have, like, high value food to
Yep.
be like, "This is worth it," not just going over there and seeing what I can smell, or and that's not necessarily like, as I'm saying it, I'm starting to think it sounds like we don't have a very good relationship. We do, it's just he doesn't have the same motivation for training,
Yeah.
you know, or offering things as Zan does.
Yeah. Yep.
So this is where the easy dogs can sometimes be really hard and the hard dogs can sometimes be really
Easy.
easy. Um, so I think when you're talking about like drive, there's good and bad in both, and it
Mm.
depends what's going to work
Yep, you.
for you. Um,
And the other thing with drive too, I think, and you see it a lot with sports dogs, those sorts of people often want high drive dogs, but the rewards are different as well.
yeah,
So, like Foxy uh, loves his food. Zen
it's
likes
basically a Labrador.
Zen loves food too, but his favourite reward would be tug. So,
Yeah, and I think, oh, sorry, did that wake you up? I think something that might be interesting for other people to know, and something we were only talking about last week with Zen, is when he's been coming out in some of the lessons, because he's so comfortable up there, neither of us have been worried about the type of food we're using.
mhm,
But over the last couple of months, I've said to you, gradually getting worse. I'm struggling with him
mhm.
because he's just so excited to be up there.
He loves going to work, doesn't he?
He's not worried about the other dog. Like, he's still able to focus, but he just wants to tug or run.
Mm.
And that's not always what we
What?
need
No.
for him to do. And I said to you the other day, I need you to give me some better food. And it was like a light switch.
Yeah.
But why the lesser food hasn't been working in the same environment for him isn't necessarily actually to do with the food. It's to do with the fact that he's finding coming to work so much fun and so rewarding.
Mm.
When I come back to get him, especially if we, like, get up there and go, "Oh, actually, we might need to just duck down and grab him," he is so excited.
Mm.
So just coming to work
Yeah.
is rewarding for him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. Mm.
So it's sort of a secondary reinforcer, but to get his brain switched back into gear, he needs the higher food.
Mm.
Where a Murph or a Fox, which are, or, you know, Tanner, if you're talking about like other dogs that are quote unquote lower drive, they're not, they're excited, but it's a different level of excited where they're still probably actually able to think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's an interesting one.
it is. Yeah.
Interesting trying to actually explain it too.
Yeah, it's probably a whole topic unto itself, really, but it is. It's something that doesn't, I think, outside of maybe a sporting dog world, get talked enough about.
Yeah.
But people going to buy pet dogs, whether it's from breeders, backyard breeders, rescues, are still dealing with drive issues because
Every dog's got a drive.
yeah, exactly. So whether you and we think of the lower drive dogs, like we said, as quote unquote easier, and the high drive dogs as harder, but it's just working out the difference between driving like a Suzuki Swift and a Lamborghini.
Yeah.
There's
Or
both
a
cars.
Ferrari. I'd like a Ferrari.
Oh, okay, would you?
Better than a Lamborghini. But anyway.
Okay, righto. Whatever. You get what I point. A supercar, let's say then. So yeah, they're cars. They're both cars. They're just going to handle very differently.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure. Fox might be a truck some days.
That's not very nice.
Oh, why? He's slow. Trucks don't get anywhere very quickly, do they? Off drive, because I think we've definitely covered why drive can be easier or harder. I think another thing we don't that can make a dog be harder is how sensitive they are.
Yeah, that's something that you don't think of very often.
No. I think we think of sensitive, I think, and confidence is probably in the same category as these. I think we think of them as, and I did a post not that long ago actually on this, as personality traits. So I couldn't get the word personality, but they're not, are they, in a way? You just you're gonna speak?
No.
Podcast revolves
Around
talking.
speaking.
But they're not. We can work with them and we can change to a degree sensitivities, can't we?
Yeah, and definitely. And some dogs are quite sensitive to lots of different things. Sometimes it can be touch or just the world. And I guess we don't. I guess you don't. You sort of got to really think about if your dog is sensitive, because sometimes the way you speak to your dog, you know, if they're a very sensitive dog and you know, I don't know, you might be in a rush and you might, you know, use a voice that might be not quite as soft as your normal voice. A sensitive dog can, you know,
pick up on that.
Yeah, they do. So yeah, I think, and often especially if you're in a rush or something, you don't sort of realise that sort of thing.
No.
So yeah, sensitivity, it is an interesting one that probably most people don't pick up on, or a lot of people don't. So
No.
it's one that can make them a little bit more difficult, you might think. But I guess if you can see that they're a little bit more sensitive, then you again can adjust how you're interacting with them.
And I mean, it's not wrapping them up in bubble wrap either, but it's just going, okay, how does this dog? And I think one thing I've noticed with Fox versus Murph is Murph used to, he probably still does to a degree, probably just not as much because he's obviously older now, but he really liked to roughhouse, and he liked to be really like me pushing, like playfully pushing him, obviously, but you know, razzing him up a bit, where Fox can be very like, if he wants to do that, it's fine. If he doesn't, he's like, no, thank you. He's very, and sometimes the line can be, okay, that's got too much.
Yeah.
And some of that has just been me learning him. And I mean, he's 2 and I'm still learning him.
Yeah. Oh, we're always learning. So, that's an interesting point. And I think some dogs need more encouragement.
Yeah, like I have said on here before, and I will say it again, I sometimes feel like Fox is like personal hype man, because he does now. I mean, only this morning he wanted to play. He likes tugging with Zen, but he's very soft in the mouth for a border collie,
Yeah.
and he won't actually grab on like, he would be I reckon he'd be a really crap actual herding dog, apart from the fact that we don't herd things, we just wanna play with them, but there's no nip
Yeah.
in him, so which is obviously part of his breeding because we
Mm.
don't, want that in
Want
pet
that.
homes, and
Mm.
he's bred for a pet home, but he wants to play with Zen and he wants to tug, but he sort of tugs, doesn't he? And then it slips out of his mouth, and
Yeah,
then he's like, "Oh."
because Zen loves it,
Yeah,
and yeah, he, likes tugging on things quite hard,
yeah,
so yeah, you do, so and Tanner was probably a bit the same, yeah, I sort of used to have to jump around and tell him how fantastic he was, a lot more,
mm.
and if you do that with, Zan or Riley, especially Zan, he'd be like, "Oh my god, I'm so fantastic," and he'd be up in, like, 2 seconds.
Do you wanna
Um,
tell everyone what happens when Zen gets excited?
Zen humps when he gets
What
excited.
what does Zen hump?
Well, usually me, because I'm exciting. Yeah, but it's usually with training,
Yes, it
and that
is.
that just
Yeah,
shows you, and it doesn't have to be much training,
but this is
but
I
that
the
shows
part of
you
the
how exciting training is for him.
Yeah, and part of the reason I did bring it up is it is a sensitivity thing
Yep.
when you actually break it down. Like, you know, 5 minutes of exciting training might be, okay, we're
Mhm.
gonna tip over, but 4 minutes is like, we're good and we're not gonna
Yeah.
get to that level.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so, yeah, and he still does that, and it just, yeah, it just shows they're all different. They can,
Yep.
get quite excited about different things, and I guess it's a little bit of drive and a little bit of sensitivity,
Yep.
so, interesting.
And probably the final thing I think we wanna touch on is, which can make some dogs harder than others, is recovery.
Mhm.
So when we're
It's
talking
probably
about
something we don't think about a lot.
No, I think sensitivity and recovery are 2 things, and
Mm.
probably drive, which we did definitely go into drive a lot, but
Well,
th
that was hard to actually explain, wasn't it?
no, I think we were right.
Mm.
We got there. Um, it's hard sometimes when and you understand it, trying to find the words to actually
Yeah, I
spit
know,
it out.
trying to get 'em out.
Um, but recovery is actually quite huge,
Mhm.
and how your dog's ability to recover, um,
Mm.
from, let's
Something.
say, a little hiccup in life,
Mhm.
um how well they can actually come back down and go, "Oof, that was a bit hard, but I'm alright now,"
Mm.
is usually the difference between an easy dog and a hard dog,
Oh, yeah, definitely, if,
generalising,
yeah,
obviously.
yeah, but, oh, definitely because, if there's a little hiccup, and your dog doesn't come down quickly, well, yeah, its bucket can be overflowing and, it can be quite hard.
Yeah,
And I think you can get stuck on, "Heck, what do I do? How do I calm it down?" Um, and that can make situations and things, really difficult for
yeah,
us. So, whereas other dogs again, and I guess Fox is probably a bit of an example if he has a bit of a, I don't know, gets excited about seeing another dog or something, um, he can actually, or even if he has a bit of a play with a dog he
mhm.
likes, he can actually come down quite quickly.
Yeah, you can, and I think we were talking about an example at the weekend, actually. I don't know who we were talking about that with, but there's a dog that he sees semi-regularly,
Mhm,
in one of our classes that he really has only interacted properly with once,
mhm.
but he thinks she's the bee's knees. No one's really sure why. Um, maybe
Just
she's just fantastic.
yep.
I'm sure if her mum will know who she is if she's listening, and she is fantastic. But they've really only properly interacted. They've sort of like, because when this person comes to class, we probably sit near
Yep,
her, just with where we position dogs. They might occasionally, she might wander over before we've even realised, or he'll go over, and you've got to we
yep.
split them up. But they've really only, let's say, played once.
Mhm.
And when they started, she gets up very quickly. She
Yep,
has a very high drive dog. Um, and I thought, well, it's going to be over here. They're just both going to,
yep.
until the point where she gets too much and he goes, she's a bit full on. I can't cope anymore. But the other person called her dog back, and I called him back, and I was like, oh, he's actually And it was probably the first time that I really went, he can actually, when he's excited,
Drop.
just
Mm,
come away and re-engage with me.
yeah,
Not 100% of the time, like, I'm not gonna sit here and say he's perfect at it, but he's very good, and we had which again I put on Facebook not that long ago, a situation where we were on a walk and there was an off-lead dog,
mhm,
and I sort of knew the interaction was gonna happen before it happened. I thought I could see, even though the bloke was trying to get his dog to come along, I thought, "Well, it's coming over." And knowing him, and this is again sometimes knowing your dogs a little bit, isn't
yeah,
it? I just gave him the room and went, "Okay, we'll just see what happens here." And he is very soft. And what I've found really interesting is a lot of dogs that people say they don't normally like other dogs, they seem to really like him. And I
mhm,
think it's just he
yeah,
comes across as quite soft. So most of the time I'm not worried, especially with how this dog was approaching. I knew it wasn't coming in like,
yeah,
like it was going to do something. Um, and I went, "Yep, okay, we've had a couple of seconds here," and, I went, "All right, let's go," and he just moved away with me.
yeah,
Um, we did come across that dog again, and he did get excited because the dog came over again, and it was fractionally harder to move him away. We're in a different sorta area where there wasn't as much room to do what I did the first time, but he was still able to move away.
yep,
So I think, yeah, again, and he was able to come back down. He saw a few other dogs on that walk, and it wasn't like, "Oh my god, are you gonna come over?" "Oh my god, I wanna go over to you." It was just like, "Yep, we've moved." I gave him a bit of extra distance because I thought, "Well, he's just had something really exciting
yeah,
happen. I know what he's like." But he was able to recover quite quickly,
mm,
where again, and this is not making him a bad dog, but if the same thing happened to Zan.
yeah, he'd take a while, and, his problem is especially, if there's another dog and you're talking about how soft Fox looks, but if Zan sees a dog that, mightn't be as soft, he's okay with softer dogs, but if it's, might be a little bit stiffer or it's a bit zippy, might be little or it might be big if it's zipping around, he's like, "What the hell?" And
Yeah,
he's up straight away, and
yeah,
then, yeah, it's a while you've gotta get past or move away, and then takes a little bit longer for him to actually settle back down and
yeah,
calm back down, um, and hopefully, while he's settling down, you don't have another interaction with another dog because that'll get him up again. So,
yeah,
yeah, his recovery is definitely a lot slower, and Fox has got a really good recovery,
yeah,
and it does makes things easier. So sometimes it can be quite difficult when they don't calm down quite as
yeah,
um, quickly, and if you're in a situation where you haven't got the room to move away to help them calm down,
yeah.
um, so yeah, it does make them harder.
But we do always talk about there's 3 big things,
Yep,
isn't there, that will help recovery,
yep,
which is sniffing, licking, and chewing.
yep,
They are 3 decompression
yep,
activities. So, you can do that. We often talk to people about doing that at the end of a walk,
yeah,
but you can do that during a walk if you think,
definitely.
throw some treats in the grass, let them sniff them out, and
Yep,
help them come back down if you think your dog needs that
yeah.
extra help.
Yeah, and it's a great one and, just helps them and, they love having a bit of a sniff in the grass and finding some treats, so,
Yeah,
it's a good one to keep up your sleeve, and if you do need something like that, good one to do on a walk. But also, like you said, uh, do it at home. Throw some treats in the backyard.
yeah, definitely.
Alrighty, that's about it for today.
I think so. I think
It's
it's
a good little one to have a chat about.
Yeah, it is, and I think, we get a lot of people that say, "This dog is harder than my last dog," or, "I don't know why this dog's so
Hmm,
hard," or,
lots
um,
of
there
reasons.
are lots of reasons, and usually not many of them are to do with you and what you've done.
No, that's right. Yep, definitely. Dogs are all individuals, and just like us, and we have to remember that. That's the big thing.
Yeah,
So that's good.
yep,
Okay. If you've liked us, don't forget to leave us a review, give us a follow, and don't forget to check out our online shop where you can buy all our goodies, ebooks, real life ready framework, which will help you out in the real world.
yep.
And we will see you on the next one. Bye for now.